Money was one of the biggest puzzles in my life. It kept me stuck. It kept me stressed. It kept me broke until I discovered the shifts that changed everything for me. I went from bankruptcy and foreclosure in 2011 to building and selling my business. I now hold 7 figures in commercial real estate, and it all started by eliminating the money blocks I inherited from my family as a child. If you watch nothing else on money, watch this. These are the lessons to remember. Let's dive in. Step number 1. You have to decide to be wealthy. And that may sound like common sense, but up until that point in my life, I had not decided to be wealthy. I had all kinds of reasons and justifications and stories for why I wasn't. I certainly wanted to be wealthy, but I felt like it was some far-off aspiration that I was never going to be able to achieve. And that's very different than a decision. You have to decide that you are going to be wealthy. Now, the other principles that I'm going to share with you are going to support you in giving yourself permission to make that decision. But wealth begins with one decision. I'm going to become rich. You have to be willing to decide that. Now, the mistake that most people make, and the reason why they don't decide it, because it seems so obvious. Like, why wouldn't you decide to be rich? You are not going to get healthy unless you decide to be healthy. You are not going to lose weight unless you decide to lose weight, right? You're not going to start a business unless you decide to start a business. You're never going to become more spiritual unless you decide that you want to become more spiritual. You're never going to stop partying, drinking, and drugging until you decide to stop drinking, drugging, and partying. You're never going to find a compatible wife or husband until you decide to find a compatible wife or husband. Do you see how this continues to go and go and go? Why don't we just simply make a decision that we are going to become wealthy? There's 2 reasons here. Reason number 1 is we hate making decisions that we can't fulfill on. That's the main one. It's almost like we're hesitant to claim or own something for the fear of failure. You know, nobody wants to set out on a course and not achieve the outcome, especially if you're going to put in a lot of time and energy, especially if you're going to socialize it with your friends and the people around you. You say things like, or we all have a friend that's like, hey, I'm going to be rich someday, right? The people around you are like, yeah, all right, Steven. Okay, Stevie, you know, you've got a bunch of credit card debt you talk about all the time, and you're unemployed right now, and you've been living on your mom's sofa. How are you going to be rich someday, dude? And so we're hesitant to actually claim it or own it, or the ridicule that might follow if we decide that we're going to achieve something or accomplish something or manifest something and we don't. But we can't allow that fear to own us, because step 1 is the decision. All change begins with a decision. All change begins with a decision. Remember that. Decision is the catalyst for the transformation of your life. And so we're going to get into some of the tactics and strategies here on how to become wealthy. But it all starts with a decision. I'm going to become rich. Most people delay deciding that they're going to become wealthy. They're going to become a millionaire. They're going to become a billionaire like myself, because they think they need to know the how first. We're going to talk about the how. Needing to know the how before willing to commit yourself and make a decision is a lot like putting the cart before the horse. The how actually unfolds as a byproduct of deciding. Anybody who's ever created anything extraordinary in life didn't know how before they decided, right? So look at some figures. Edison decided he was going to create the light bulb. He didn't know how. Ford decided he was going to create the Model T4. He didn't know how. Elon Musk decided that he was going to send rockets to Mars. Didn't know how, right? Anybody who's ever accomplished anything great didn't know how. You look at the founding fathers of the United States of America and the American Revolution. They didn't know how they were going to establish democracy and freedom and independence against the most powerful nation in the world. But guess what? They made a decision, and the how just unfolded. But most people think they need to know how before they were willing to make that commitment and decide. Think about it. Run these things through your brain. There's a study that I heard and seen. It's so powerful, they did a study in 2009. It was featured in Time magazine, where they brought in piano players to play the piano, and they studied what parts of their brain lit up. Then they had them come back in the next day. Just imagine playing the piano, and the same parts of the brain lit up. So your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. Neuroscience backs this up. I mean, there's so much information on this. And what happens when you decide that you're going to be wealthy is, whether you are conscious of it or not, you begin to imagine it. Whatever wealthy looks like for you, because it's different for all of us. Some people want to fly private. Some people want to have a place in Bali, out in nature. Other people want to be massive philanthropists and just give to the world as much as they can and live in a box. Some people want to be businessmen or businesswomen. Other people with their wealth, they want to be able to change the educational system. I mean, it goes on and on. And some people just want to be quiet with their wealth and have material things just pile up to the ceiling. But it doesn't matter, right? But when you decide that you're going to be wealthy at conscious and unconscious levels, you start to imagine what that would look like for you. You kind of open a portal to a new dimension of your life called the wealthy version of you. And as you are allowing yourself to imagine that, contemplate that, entertain what it would look like, your brain doesn't know the difference between that imaginative act and it actually happening. And so you literally start to build a memory of a future that has not happened yet. Your brain starts to change because you start to record that experience as if you were actually doing it. So this is the beginning of transforming your neurology. You are creating the brain of a wealthy person. The brain of a wealthy person is established before the wealth arrives. And the way that you can create the brain of a wealthy person is, number one, decide. So number two, don't worry about the how. Step number two, you must love the bank account you have in order to get the bank account you want. And so the story we tell ourselves is, I hate my current financial situation. I'm disgusted by it. I'll finally be happy and grateful when I have more money. That was me. And so we live in a state of resistance to our present reality, believing that this resistance is what will actually motivate us to change. But the truth is it's based on a fundamental law of the universe. What you resist persists. So when you pour the energy of frustration, hatred, disgust into your current reality, you are energetically anchoring yourself to it. You are feeding the very thing you want to escape. And so gratitude, on the other hand, is the frequency of non-resistance. It is the ultimate state of allowing. And when you can find genuine gratitude for where you are right now, you send a powerful signal to the field that says, thank you for this. I'm open and ready to receive more. One of the most powerful mantras that I adopted during my own financial transformation was this: to have a bank account I love, I must love the bank account I have. And this was a game changer. It forced me to stop fighting with the reality and start making peace with it. And it shifted me out of a state of lack and into a state of appreciation. You have to find the appreciation. And it was in that state of non-resistance that everything started to change for me. So your integration practice is simple, but not necessarily easy. So I want you to try this tonight. Before you go to bed, I want you to open your banking app, look at the number, no matter what it is, and take a deep breath. And I want you to find one thing, just one thing to be genuinely grateful for in relation to that number. Maybe it's, I'm grateful that I have enough to pay my phone bill or internet bill, right? Which allows me to access information like this. Or I'm grateful for the lessons this financial situation is teaching me about resilience. Start there and make it genuine. Just one little thing. Make peace with the present, because it is the only place from which you can create a new future. Step number 3, you already have enough and will always have enough. The desire to accumulate more wealth in order to not be financially insecure. It is the desire. And I want you to notice this. Do you want more money so that you can feel financially secure? Do you want more money so that you no longer have to feel financial insecurity? If that is the case, this is one of the primary things blocking you from allowing currency to flow through in the form of ideas and actions and coincidence and synchronicities to actually experience a more prosperous, abundant, and wealthier life. Here's how. There is a hidden limiting belief that we all have, almost all of us, that looks something like this. I don't have enough, or I didn't have enough, or I won't have enough in the future to be okay. There is a fear that we won't have enough to be okay. And we look at our own lives right now, and there's this sense of like, man, I'm barely making it. I don't have enough. Maybe we look into the past and we see that there were times where things were tight and it was close and we didn't have enough. But most importantly, what I want you to be aware of is this fear that you have that you will not or might not have enough in the future. And so this fear is motivating you to want to create more financial prosperity so that you do not experience not having enough, not being okay, not being financially secure at some point in the near, medium, or long-term future. Here's the problem. The universal reality or intelligence or the vibration or the force or love or whatever you want to call this matrix-like highly intelligent system that we live in that corresponds to what it is that we think has no awareness, that you will not have enough because it always provides you enough. What I mean by that is this word enough is very cunning, baffling, and powerful. We have a fear, a deep-seated fear that if we don't have enough, we're going to die. But if you actually look at this, it's a limiting belief. If you look at the history of your life, have you always had enough? I'm not saying you've always had enough to buy what you want, a big screen TV or whatever. I've known people who have been homeless for periods of time. I was one of them as a child. But they had enough. They had enough to survive. Life always took care of them. But there's this idea that the mind creates that if we don't have enough, we're going to die, right? I even know families who have been without homes for a period of time, but life provided them enough to survive and enough to get back on their feet. So what's really true when we look at this is we have always had enough and we have always and will have enough. I want you to say this with me right now. I have always had enough. I want you to look at your life right now. Do you have enough right now? Again, this is very cunning, baffling, and powerful word, enough. What does it really mean? Do you have enough right now? I mean, you've got enough to be listening to this podcast episode or listening on YouTube, wherever you're listening, right? You've got enough for that. I know that you might have some challenges going on in your life. I know that you might have some fears going on inside of you, right? I know that there are some changes that you might want to experience in what's going on in your life. But do you have enough right now? Are you okay right now in this second, right here, right now? Do you have enough? Do you have enough yesterday? Did you have enough the day before? Do you think you'll have enough an hour from now? I want you to say with me right now, I have enough. I've always had enough, and I have enough right here, right now. And now I want you to say the third piece of this trifecta that will allow prosperity and abundance and finance and currency to flow through you. It is the statement, and I will always have enough. I've always had enough, I have enough, and I will always have enough. That's the truth. And you know that's the truth because it feels good. Like we talk about the two states of being. You can know whether or not something you are saying is true or false based on how it feels. And the reason why these thoughts of, I'm not going to have enough in the future, what if I don't have enough? What happens? My mortgage payment is due. My bills are due. My rent is due. My this or that. I know they've always been due. They've always been due. But the truth is, that's why it feels so bad. This idea that you are not going to have enough because the truth is, you've always had enough. You have enough right now, and you will always have enough. And once you ground yourself in that core belief, oh my God, watch how the spirit of currency begins to flow through you when you release yourself of this mantra that you will not have enough, and living in the present moment where you have enough as if you don't, and moving into a primal state in fight or flight where, by the way, you have no access to wealth creating ideas. You'll miss the opportunities around you to make more money. You've closed the door on currency to flow through you. Not completely, because life has this amazing way of providing for you even when you are incredibly resistant to it. Even when I'm incredibly resistant to it, thank goodness. If you give up this idea that you are not going to have enough with I have enough and will always have enough, now all of a sudden you put yourself in alignment with currency and with money, right? You desire money to create the vision that you have for your life. Letting go of the old limiting beliefs around money and letting go of this idea that you may not have enough by acknowledging that you've always had enough, no matter what your circumstance or situation is. That you have enough right now and that you will always have enough. Step number 4. Money flows when you have an aligned mindset. So let's now take a look at some of the common limiting beliefs around money. One of those is money is hard to make. And so you might have seen your parents or parent working a 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 or 9 to 9 or working 2 jobs, just trying to make ends meet, not making a lot of money, making minimum wage, whatever the case is. And so the conclusion you came to is that money is hard to make, right? And the truth is, it's not that money is hard to make. That's a judgment. That's placed on money based on what you observed with your parents or what you observed with other people. But the reality is money isn't hard to make. Money is not easy to make. Money doesn't even really make sense as it relates to money. What was true was that your parents had money resistance. They had unprocessed money trauma. And so as a result of that, they experienced an absence of money. And the meaning that you gave that experience was that money must be hard to make. It's not necessarily true, but that's the meaning that you gave it. And until you get into this work and this conversation, if you continue to carry that belief, then that becomes your reality as well. Another common limiting belief is something around money. I have to figure out how to make money. And this is really, really interesting. A lot of people say, well, it's easy for you to say, you're a business owner, but I have a career. I have a fixed income. I have kids. And so, everything you're talking about isn't relevant for me. And what I'm wanting to express here with this idea that I have to figure out how to make money is that figuring out how is not your job. The how becomes a natural byproduct of non-resistance. You decide first. So when you get clear that you've got these limiting beliefs that you adopted from your parents, and you have the tools to let those beliefs go, and I'm going to share with you one of the most powerful tools by the end of this episode, then the how automatically begins to emerge. And it emerges in the form of you start to have different thoughts and ideas. You start to experience reality differently. So you see opportunities that you didn't see before. You start to make different decisions at a conscious and unconscious level because the decisions you make are based on what you believe. And so now you're putting yourself in a different position. You are essentially replacing yourself in reality in a new location. And so that's where you might have thoughts to start a business, or that's where you might be introduced to an investment opportunity after you've already gotten a raise and made a little bit of money and saved a little bit of money. And so then you have this investment opportunity that makes you a lot of money. So our job is not to figure out the how to make the money. Our job is to be non-resistant. Our job is to identify the money blocks that we still carry from our family and our lineage and to let those blocks go. And then through the mechanism of new thoughts, new perceptions, coincidences, synchronicities, something will occur. We can't predict what that thing will be. We could look back on it and see it, but something will occur that we will look at and go, that's the reason why I now have money. But actually, that's not the reason why you now have money. That's just how the non-resistance or the new belief systems are playing out. In other words, me starting a real estate empire that's worth 9 figures for me, that's just a mechanic. That's just an effect. But the reason why I had the thoughts and the ideas and was able, through a lot of trial and error, to create a very prosperous empire was a result of the shift in my mindset. And that's why so many people get confused and get stuck, is because we don't see the shift in the mindset. We see the how emerges. We see the mechanic. We see the strategy and we go, oh, somebody invested in Bitcoin, so that's the way to make money. Or somebody started a business, so that's the way to make money. Or I'm stuck with a job, so I'll never be able to have the level of financial prosperity and abundance. The how always comes up. We create a very limited perspective on the ways we could make money, or the circumstances and situations that create impossibility for us to create wealth, because we're looking at the mechanic, the how. But if you change your mindset, then some unique mechanic will unfold somehow. Right? That you'll look back on and go, oh, that's why I made the money. But make no mistake, the reason why you shifted from living a life of financial insecurity to financial abundance, the reason why I shifted from financial insecurity to financial abundance was not because I started a business. It's because I changed my mindset. I made the decision. The byproduct of that for me in my own unique journey was to start and grow a business and sell it and invest in real estate. That was the vision. But there's a lot of ways to the top of the mountain, the prosperity mountain. It could have went a million different ways. So just because you have a job does not mean that you cannot live an abundant life. The important thing is to take a look at the fact that highlights a resistance, which is I can't have financial prosperity and abundance because I have a job, or I don't have any money right now, or this or that, right? That's a limiting belief that would be identified, and that would need to be shifted in order for you to live in financial prosperity and abundance. Step number 5, relax and go on with your life. Literally, this is the big mistake a lot of people make. They keep checking in on their financial goal, right? Or something will happen where it feels like they're going backwards, and an unexpected bill that appears in the mail. And it is essential that you stay loyal to the decision and you just go on with your life. So every single time I took the leap to the next level, it was when I least expected it. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't waiting for it. I went on with my life and focused on the things that I enjoyed in my life. And in the most miraculous ways, the how always found me, and it will find you. And I'll say that again. You don't figure out the how finds you. You'll look backwards and be able to say, oh, that's how it happened. That is crazy. I had this idea, or I went to this place, or I talked to this person, and then that led to this and that, and then it happened. But you cannot predict it. In fact, trying to predict it or trying to pressure it or checking in on it obsessively creates resistance. And that resistance prevents the opportunity from currency, money from flowing to you. Money will flow when you are relaxed. You have to have faith and trust that your opportunity is on the way. And I know that sometimes it can feel desperate, or you are tired of your current situation and full of frustration, but things can change really quickly. But you have to give it a little bit of time. What do you do in the meantime? You enjoy your life. You don't suffocate it. And I'm telling you that if you can just relax a little bit, 100% of the time, an opportunity will come out that will produce the financial shift for you. And the truth is, if you knew that your financial opportunity was on the way, that's exactly what you'd be doing, enjoying your life, right? Knowing that at the right time it would arrive. So again, this is part of being your future self now. So the key in this step is to literally don't worry. Don't worry about it. And just know that at the right time, in exactly the right way, the opportunity must present itself, as long as you've made the decision and stuck with it. Look, money isn't just about strategy or spreadsheets. For most of us, the real obstacle is the set of beliefs we inherited as children. The quiet stories that say we're not worthy, there's nothing enough, or success has to come with sacrifice, the hustle and the grind. But the truth is, money is a mirror. It reflects your identity, your alignment, and the state you are operating from. When you dissolve resistance and shift these core beliefs, wealth stops being a fight. It becomes a natural byproduct of who you are. If you take anything from this episode, let it be this. The breakthrough isn't out there, it's in here. Change the way you relate to money at the level of belief, and your entire financial reality reorganizes around that new truth. I hope this episode gave you the insights you need to finally release those blocks and step into abundance with ease. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, peace.